Melrose, Spina, Patterson, McLean, Gilmeister, Hardy, Truella and Batiste, with Katsianis a late inclusion. Now the Port Moresbyans: Moida, Katsa, Cove, Numapo, Kerry, Sagaro, Jibo, Taumaka, Waketsi, Kubak, Tep, Henny and Yakas. Referee is Mr. Barry Gomersall, the very controversial yet very colourful Queenslander, appointed to this match. Obviously considered the number 2 referee in this state these days. So it's Eastern Suburbs running right to left against this team from Port Moresby who came through the qualifyings. And there's their first mistake, and probably more a show of the real nerves that are going to be coming through. John Ben Moidy making the knock-on in goal. And of course a line dropout. We'll see them give the ball immediately back to Eastern Suburbs.
No, I don't want to put
Numapo, the centre, taking the line dropout. They defeated Northern Territory, and now they've put it out on the full, so it's a penalty right in front, 10 metres out for Eastern Suburbs. Couldn't possibly have been a worse start than what you've seen for the Port Moresbyans. Tony Melrose with his 3rd rugby league club in Sydney now since coming across from representative football of the Australian Union. 4th is at Bilyaquad, where he played with South too, yeah. He's been to Manly, Parramatta, South and now Easts, an accountant, a wonderful ambassador for the game. He's a very nice man, Tony Melrose. And here he is from right in front, just 10 metres out. And there it is, the 2 points to Eastern Suburbs. They lead Port Moresby 2 points to 0 inside the first 60 seconds of play. So back to the halfway it comes, with the kickoff to be taken by Jibo, the halfback. And this is not going to go 10 metres, and it's another penalty to Eastern Suburbs, this time at the centre of the halfway line. I'm loath to be critical of Port Moresby at this early point in time, for the simple reason that this would be one very, very awesome thing for them, playing at Lang Park against the Sydney club side, and knowing that the cameras of television are firmly upon them. So many things they're doing there tonight for the first time. Going ahead for Eastern Suburbs, Trevor Gilmeister. Now it's Brian Batiste, the headband in number 13. Melrose, Spina on the run round, dummy back to him. Hardy gives it to McLean, and McLean is pulled down by one of the Port Moresby front row forwards. Now they spread the ball quickly. It's gone straight across the line to Bennett. Bennett looks like he'll go in and score, and the touch judge's motion is indicating that it's a fair try. So Bennett picks up the first try for Eastern Suburbs, and they immediately rush away to lead by 6 points to 0. This was the replay, the Foster's Lager replay, of them coming straight down the barrel of a camera down on the dead ball line corner. I thought for a moment he might have been, in fact, put over that touch line in goal, but he wasn't, and was still able to get it down.
Already the danger signs are there for Port Moresby that this could be an absolute shellacking by Eastern Suburbs. East didn't do anything fancy. They merely shifted the ball to their winger, who had an overlap. He didn't have to do anything except run straight and hard.
So the try scorer, Scott Bennett. And it's going to be Tony Melrose from the touchline. Melrose on the 22. His kick off the boot beautifully. It's a good kick by Melrose. from the sideline, and Eastern Suburbs 8 lead Port Moresby 0. Kevin Hastings, 11 years with Eastern Suburbs, sitting in the dugout. So it's to be hoped the boys from Papua New Guinea can find a little bit more lady luck than they have at the outset of this match. This is Bennett, tackled on his own 22.
There's no doubt it will be a horrifying experience for Port Moresby, and the thing they're going to find most difficult is the pace that the Sydney footballers do everything. They kick the ball quickly and chase well. They get up and play the ball quickly. When they've made a tackle, their defence is back into position with plenty of pace, and Port Moresby just won't be able to handle those aspects of speed in every fundamental of the game.
So it's Moida, the fullback, playing it just inside his own 22. And away now through Jibo.
Come on.
It's Jacques, the number 13. And now Namapo. After his centre partner, and away to the number 15 who came into the side late. That's Kerry. No gain in ground. They've gone from one side, the old grandstand side, to the new, with no gain in ground out down the field. Kick through by Seguiaro. And this is Madison, one of the two brothers, one on the bench, and Paul, the boy with the ball now, tackled some 30 metres out from his own line. 8-0 in favour of Eastern Suburbs as McLean runs to the blind side. Katsianis to the halfway. Chalice pulling out of the side. And Katsianis coming in. Hardy, the run around for Melrose, the wide ball for Batiste. He goes back in off the left foot, looks inside, but he's tackled. Pulled down by Jibo, the halfback. And also Covey, the centre. Spina. McGann, Bennett now. Tackled by Kerry. Mafu Kerry in 15 as the arm goes up from Gomersall. They're on the last. They prefer to spread the ball, and it's a bad pass, in fact, right across the ground that, in fact, sees Katsianis tackled in possession, so it's the turnover. Ball played by Giakis, the front row, with his knee heavily bandaged. This is Numapo.
We can see here that New Guinea obviously lack experience. Every time they get the ball, they're intent on spreading it from one side of the field to the other, and here they go again, but they're making no forward progress. Now, against a poor defence, that might work because you could outflank them. Against this quick-moving Sydney defence, all they'll do is lose ground. That's a far better run, a run out of dummy half. At least the players going forward.
Tamaku, the captain it is, who plays it. And this man is Quebec. And now Jibo, the half. They're on their own 22. Quebec endeavours to get the kick in. It's gone straight to Scott Bennett. And Numapo goes low. Over the top was Kerry. Through to Spina. Away now to the lock Patterson. And Patterson goes through a frail attempt to tackle, and here's a try for Melrose. Straight under the crossbar goes Tony Melrose to enlarge the score to 12 points to nothing, and Melrose will convert his own try most assuredly. It was a tackle attempt by the number 11, I think, Joey Tepp. He went in and made a very ordinary attempt at tackle. Patterson got through him. He drew Moida, the fullback, and it was Melrose in to score straight under the black dot.
Very simple football here by Eastern Suburbs. It was Patterson that stepped off the right foot and went through some very flimsy defence. And here it was simply a matter of draw, give, a catch by Tony Melrose, and he stretches out to score the four-pointer under the uprights.
I take back a common terminology that you'll hear from commentators from time to time, under the black dot. Here, of course, it's under the maroon dot. very definitely. So Melrose from right in front converts his own try, and Eastern Suburbs leading already by 14 points to 0 with 10 minutes of the first quarter gone. Ball placed now by Jesso Jibo, the half. And that kick going to Bennett, who offloads immediately to Mattison, the fullback, and he's tackled by the second rower Waketsi in number 9.
I suppose in many respects Eastern Suburbs coach Arthur Beetson was hoping to use this game as a form finder for his players, because they've been in very poor form in the Sydney Premiership, but I don't think he's going to be able to judge the performances of any of his players on tonight.
Here's Hardy lurking out wide, coming off a gem of a pass from this man Melrose. Then he flick passes back inside, finds Gilmeister, and he was crunched over the top by Joey Tepp. And Eastern Suburbs very close to the line again, but a long ball going to ground, a knock on in fact by Brian Batiste, and a scrum is to fall. About 7 metres inside the Port Moresby 22. But just in front of this passing action that you're watching on the Foster's Lager replay, you did see some vintage Melrose. That's the sort of stuff he loves to do. Just put him out there and turn him loose. It's the only way I would think to coach Tony Melrose, if it's possible these days in rugby league. It's Namapo, the number 4.
Once again, Port Moresby guilty of plenty of passing, but not much running.
Jibo, the half, switching the play back around to the second rower, Waketsi. And that kick in general play is going to find it about 8 metres into Eastern Suburbs area. Good kick by the halfback, Jibo. Scrum 1 against the feed by Port Moresby, and struck 4 on the first by Spina. Seguiaro, the 5/8 to play it, near the halfway line. He's hurt. Got his head down and he was prepared to take them on. There was no question about the man's courage, but it looks like he's had a clash of heads there with, I think it's Gilmeister, the East second rower. Traditionally in Sydney, teams would be expected to be at the ground, well, at least a couple of hours before kick-off, and they would be taken out by their trainer to stretch around about 20 minutes before they take the field. Port Moresby arrived at the ground 20 minutes before kick-off. Here's a break, the first of the match for them by Waketsi. Inside it goes now to Jarkas. Jarkas is going to score. Well, the crowd came alive as the big number 9, Waketsi, burst into a hole, and all of a sudden Jarkas was there to support him. East had become guilty, I believe, of complacency. As Bill has been telling you, they've been going across the field with plenty of ball passing, but not going straight ahead at all. And then all of a sudden they straightened the attack, and Jarkas is in to score a try for Port Moresby.
If a try like this was scored in the Sydney Premiership straight after a player had been down injured, you'd put it down to a set move. But I'm not going to say that. It was a poor tackle. I think it was the number 6, Tony Melrose, that fell off a tackle. The break was made by the number 9, Waketsi. He turned the ball back inside to Jarkas, and he showed plenty of pace for a prop forward.
Did he ever? Well, if anything's going to do them any good at this point in time, it will be a try like that.
I think Eastern Suburbs have got to be careful. You know, there's no way they're going to lose this game. They're going to win it and should win it well, but they've got to be careful that they don't just drop into some bad habits and become very complacent and start to play scrappy football.
So the centre, Numapo, Bal Numapo, the number 4, taking this attempt at conversion. Right in front, 20 metres out. And he's got it. So the crowd cheering Port Moresby as they get on the board, trailing by 14 points to 6. Melrose placing the ball for the restart. He wouldn't be happy with himself. It was most definitely him who went high, paid the penalty. This is Moida. Jibo. That's Seguiaro, the 5/8. Long torpedo pass back across to the blind side. 4 or 5 passes to get the ball probably to cross something like 60 metres of ground.
That's something we're not used to, a switch of play in your own quarter.
Seguiaro. Tackle just inside the 22.
That's a better run. There's no lack of enthusiasm in this side. It's just a matter of a little bit better direction.
5 tackles gone for them. And a little chip over the top of the 3/4. They've regathered. Yes, and this is the try scorer. Making another good contribution, Jarkus. But the ball has been given over. Little halfback, Jesso Jibo. He chipped over the top neatly, regathered, and then sent Jarkus on another run. So East are suddenly awakened from any complacency they may have fallen into. Now that's Glenn Leggett in 3. Hugh McGahn back and across to Melrose. And Melrose will play at about 25 metres out from the Port Moresby line. This is Brian Batiste. Bennett, McLean to the 10-metre line. And over the touchline for a scrum to restart. In Big League out today, the story of how Parramatta will become the first club to take $1 million through the gate in a season thanks to the new stadium. A special story by Max Krilich on New Zealand super coach Graham Lowe. A fabulous pin-up of Big Bruiser Clark and all the teams for next weekend's Winfield Cup matches. And again, Port Moresby win the scrum. Penalty against the Eastern Suburbs prop, Steve Hardy. That's their first penalty of the match, the boys from the Port. The line kicker, Bernard Waketsi, not very happy with his performance. Not finding as much as he wanted. Kerry takes the tap. Jibo spins it out to the 5/8. Seguiaro. Ducking into dummy half is Henny. Good quick passing in close there by Waketsi. About 1 3/4 minutes of the first quarter remaining. This is the big number 10 trying to break them again. Robert Kubak. And 5 tackles gone now. That kick bouncing up. Oh, he put his foot on the line. He took the ball in the field of play, then put his foot on the line. So it'll be a scrum with Port Moresby's half to feed. See it again. Scott Bennett thought he could take it cleanly, and then when he came down with that left foot, he put it on the line. Ifiso Sigario is the the 5/8. If I had to pronounce all their Christian names and surnames, I'm sure neither of us would know what I'm talking about. That's the lock and captain going to ground, Tamaku. Little halfback is a busy player, Jibo. Taken by Katsianis for Eastern Suburbs, playing on the right wing, and he's met and tackled by his opposite number, Katsa. Let's take a sideline comment. Here's Graham Hughes.
Well, Ray, it's quite obvious that this Port Moresby side are very keen to play the game of football when in possession of the football. They've just got to learn how to tackle, and they would be more than competitive in this game tonight with Eastern Suburbs. That try has bustled the Roosters somewhat. They've just got to get back to the fact of hitting this ball up the middle and then fighting those gaps out wide. There are huge gaps out wide, and as I said again, Port Moresby not too keen on the defensive side of rugby.
So there's the siren for the end of the first quarter, but Spina is not finished yet as he gives the ball back to Gilmeister. Gilmeister's within about 3 metres of the line. He's put it down, and that's the end of the first 20 minutes. With Eastern Suburbs leading Port Moresby by 14 points to 6. Welcome back for the second quarter of this match between Eastern Suburbs and Port Moresby, with the Roosters leading 14 to 6. And Port Moresby has been forced to make a change. I can only tell you that number 17, Tati Avara, has gone on. I'm just trying to get who he's on for. Robert Jarkis, the big number 13, who in fact scored the try. So from the kickoff, another mistake by this time the captain, Taumaka. This exactly happened to them from the original kickoff to the match when they made this mistake in goal. This is their captain.
We can put that one down to a lack of communication. Neither player spoke and called for the ball. They looked at one another, and then all of a sudden it was too late.
So the dropout this time has better fortune, and going back with it is Paul Matteson, who was a Canterbury junior. Matteson. This is Patterson. Milrose running across the ground for Bennett, who's tackled there by Taumaku, the lock forward. Now it's McLean striding from one, getting free of another. He's only really got to fall over to score, but they force him back. Spina. 5 tackles gone. East brewing up for another one, and Melrose decided for the low trajectory chip kick, and it was fielded nicely by the 5/8 Seguiaro. Numapo gets the ball away out wide, and this man on the left wing, by Jove, can he run? Katsa. Joey Katsa, my goodness, he showed some pace. He's injured into the bargain, but my goodness, he was showing some speed.
He showed loads of pace, and it was only a last-ditch ankle tap that stopped him, but he was off and running.
Here he is again. He got the ball neatly from the centre, Numapo. His name Joey Katza, and he put paid to the 4 and the 8, and he was going very fast, and he's copped a knee in the back. So whilst there's a delay with this injury, let's take you to the sidelines. Here's Graham Hughes with East veteran Kevin Hastings.
Kevin, it opened up pretty big. It looked as though it's going to be anything tonight, but they showed they can do something with the ball, this Port Moresby side.
Well, they like to throw the ball around, and what we've seen on tape as well as tonight. And if we don't defend like we have in the last couple of weeks, even though we haven't scored tries, so they could run up a few tries against us tonight.
Yeah, and of course a game like this can also lead to a lot of bad habits if it does open right up.
Well, we've got enough bad habits as it is, and we don't need any more. So this is a good chance to polish our skills, if you like.
Well, it takes us back to reality then, the Sydney Winfield Cup. You turn around now, and Canberra on the weekend.
Well, they've got a point to prove too. They've only won one game, I think, the same as us, and you know, we're both doing it pretty tough, so we're both eager for the points. And it's a disappointed Kevin Hastings that's learned he's back in reserve grade. Well, I don't know whether I'm in reserve grade, but I'm on the bench tonight, but hopefully I'll get a run some stage. So that, contrary to reports in Sydney, that the side for Canberra has not really been picked. Well, Arthur said that he wasn't quite sure if this would be the side that would be going on Sunday, so we'll just have to wait and see, Grant. All right, good luck. Thanks, mate.
This is McLean. Now Hardy. Spina. Inside the 22. Gilmeister. Glenn Leggett. Leggett will nearly score. He has, so Glenn Leggett goes in to score. One of the easiest tries that we've seen tonight, and East have scored some easy tries, but this one was simply a case of Port Moresby unwilling, it would seem, to make a low tackle. There was the ball flicked out the back, and Leggett picked it up on the bounce, on the half volley, around one, and then he came to the fullback, and Moida clutched at his scalp, really. He had no idea what to do with him. And Glenn Leggett goes in to score, as I said, probably the easiest try he'll ever score in his rugby league career.
This was a demonstration of Port Moresby going to sleep thinking that a tackle was affected. It wasn't. The ball popped out at the back and it resulted in a try.
So Eastern Suburbs leading now by 18 points to 6. And Tony Melrose getting plenty of goal-kicking practice. 3 out of 3 thus far. And I would think Beatson would have given them quite a talking to at quarter time. There's Arthur sitting up the back there with the boss of City Ford, I think it is. I just caught a quick glimpse of him. Their sponsor. There's the kick by Melrose, successful. So it's Eastern Suburbs leading by 20 points to 6, and we're in the early minutes now of the second quarter. Beautiful night in Brisbane. It was quite cloudy as we made our approach today. But I bet it was a bit bumpy too, now that I come to think of it.
They're all bumpy for you.
Gibo kicking off, and McLean puts it down. The referee said he knocked it backwards. I'm not prepared to argue with him. And McLean is able to stride down the ground. It would seem that Port Moresby would benefit greatly from a lot of tackling practice.
They're going in a bit soft for their tackles, and the first point of contact in most tackles has got to be the shoulder, and that's not the case. They're throwing out an arm, and these stronger Sydney players are able just to brush their way past.
Melrose around the back for Patterson. That's not a bad tackle. He hit in the target area. Gibo, it was the half. The target area, of course, I should say, is between the hips and the knees. That's where you should line yourself up for. And that's where the first tackler really has to be. With the exception, of course, if you've got your backs to the wall down on your own line, that's a different kettle of fish and a different form of defence required there. Scrum 10 metres out from the Port's line.
Come here.
Fullback Moida wrestled to the ground. Winner of this match will play Western Suburbs, and let's not kid ourselves, it is going to be Eastern Suburbs who will play Western Suburbs. And that, of course, floods our memories back, for those of us that are old enough to go back that far, to the 77 Cup final, which the Maggies won. I think the score was 6 points to 5. Which reminds me, I should say hello again to Russell Fairfax, as I have done for the last 10 years, when we talk about that match. Martha Beetson was playing that night, as a matter of fact, and here's Easts with Batiste standing, getting it through Truella and across to Bennett in the 2-jumper. And you can see the problem Port Moresby are having. There's one player going in, trying to tackle him around the stomach area, and nobody coming over the top to wrap him up, apart from the fact that there's nobody low. Spina throws the dummy to McLean, then turns and wraps it round for Patterson to give to Hardy, and Hardy is away from a feeble attempt at tackle. The fellow was shaking his hand. saying how good he looked. And of course the ball has now gone on for Melrose to score. A try. And I started out this commentary by saying I wasn't going to be too critical of the early mistakes made by Port Moresby, but even the softest of commentators would have to think that some of these fellows just do not want to tackle. There's one bloke here, shakes Hardy on the hand here. There he is. Good luck to you, Steve. You're looking good. Then McGahn got a quick ball out to Melrose, and he plunges into that corner for another red, white and blue try. 24-6 now.
The time you've got to work the hardest in professional rugby league is when you haven't got the ball. That is when you're in defence. And we can see here a demonstration by Port Moresby of the way not to tackle. It's just missed tackle after missed tackle. No one's taking the initiative and stopped the progress of the ball. It's simply being kept alive. It finally found its way to Tony Melrose. He had no opposition and plunged over in the corner.
Melrose 4 out of 4. He's way out there on the touchline, so this one will test him out. 21 metres out, kicking from the Frank Burke stand side of the ground here at Lang Park. Magnificent rugby league arena. And the kick by Melrose, he likes it, and he's got it. Good kicking performance by Tony Melrose. 5 out of 5. 26-6 in favour of the City Ford Roosters. So Port Moresby coming back to this halfway line slowly but surely. In fact, I think they're getting a little bit slower coming back for the kickoff. They don't like particularly what they're going through here at the moment, and I don't blame them, but it's not very much to ask them to go in low and stop the man's progress and come over the top and bottle him up. That's all they've got to do, and Eastern Suburbs would be witnessing a far different match than the one they are. The change, Graham Hughes.
Yes, Ray, to the wing position for Port Moresby. Joe Katzer is off, replaced in number 5 by Arnold Tivelet.
Thank you, Graham. The kick for Melrose. And John Ben Moida, the fullback. And an uncomfortable night so far. That's Tivelet in 5 jumper. And he's striking for the ball prematurely. The referee ruled that he lifted his leg too soon. Missed tackles, 18 for Port Moresby, 5 for Easts. Ivara.
As we would expect, Port Moresby are lacking the team skills, the cohesion of Eastern Suburbs, but I still think there are a couple of players here that if they were given the opportunity and had the benefit of all the advantages that our players have with weight training and, you know, certain training programs, etc., I think they could make the grade. There are individually, there are some good players.
Numapo. 17 is the replacement, Tati Ivara. Jibo. It's Tivelet. The number 5 is only just come on the field. The kick came off the boot of Robert Kuback, and it's gone way out on the full.
If you're done.
Australian Rugby League President Ken Arthurson went into the Port Moresby room prior to the kick-off and congratulated the boys on coming through as the winners of the qualifyings. Congratulated them on their efforts in rugby league this far. In fact, listening to Ken talk, it was as if he was back in his coaching days. He was full of encouragement for them, explaining to them that the last time they played the Australians, that he watched them, of course, in Port Moresby play an Australian 13. He explained to them this was just a club side from Sydney. But everything I'm leading to is that he was full of encouragement for them. And he's very proud of the way that the game is going in Papua New Guinea. And well might he be, too. Truella. They work a blindside play off the tap. And within about a metre of the line is Eastern Suburbs. Truella comes back towards where the ball was played, running back into the traffic. This is Gilmeister. The ball out the back for Melrose, then to Spina. A quick ball to Mattison. He's out of a feeble attempted tackle. Katsianis puts it down, cleaned up there by, I do believe, Mattison. It is the fullback. Now it's Spina. Across for Brian Batiste. 5 metres out, hits and spins. Ball back to Melrose. This should be a penalty. I was going to think it was a penalty for Shepherd, and then it probably should have been a penalty against Melrose for going down. Here's Bennett. And Bennett is going to score his second try. But I'm not so sure that I called that incorrectly, because Melrose, for a start, gave himself up. He was of the opinion that he was related to a Shepherd. Here's the try on replay, and then when he didn't get pinched, he laid down on the ground. So really, I think Demisel could have got him on either of the two things, the voluntary tackle or the Shepherd. There's the try by Bennett now. On the Foster's Lager replay, see it again.
Once again, the Port Moresby defence was found wanting. They didn't mark up man for man, and there were a number of ineffective tackles. Scott Bennett, well, he's really enjoying himself out on the wing this evening. He's getting plenty of opportunities and making the most of them.
30 points to 6. And I think the only thing Tony Melrose is not happy about is the fact that they're scoring so many tries wide out. He's trying to keep this record intact of 100%, 5 from 5. Talking about history, I can go back to 74 when I started on this cup. It was then the Amco Cup, and I was looking at that scoreboard just a moment ago. It's nowhere near the proportions of some of the score lines I can recall. I think Cronulla Sutherland defeated a team from central Queensland by over 70 points one night. 70-3 it was, my director tells me. Of course, he's able to remember because he was there himself at the time. Melrose has got it again. Oh, excellent goal kicking by Tony Melrose. Take a bow, sir. 32 to 6. Ooh, 6 out of 6. Certainly, he's certainly on fire tonight, Melrose, with his kicking. Jesso Jibo coming back now for the restart. Bennett. Gilmeister rushing across the ground and linking up with Patterson. Patterson went to Easts from Easts here in Brisbane. So did McLean, for that matter. 20 points in the match so far for Tony Melrose, as McLean gets it away for Spina to duck into a hole. A high attempted tackle, again going astray. Katsianis gets a long ball out for Spina. Spina stands, looks at Bennett, puts it down, dived on there by the hooker, Roy Henney.
Spina did everything possible then. He waited and waited for Bennett to come inside, but he came too late, and that resulted in the fumble. There was another try there for the taking had he moved more quickly.
Jibo to play it. There's the scrums and penalties for you. 5-1 the scrums to Port Moresby, so somebody knows something about scrummaging, one would think, and 3-2 the penalties. Truella, of course, the East hooker tonight. He's better known as a lock forward. This is Glenn Leggett. Pulled down out there by Tivelet. Madison. Tackler was Covey. And a knock-on by East. No need for those knock-ons, really. There wasn't a defender within cooey of the play, and the ball hit him almost on the stomach. And here I was about 5 minutes ago telling you that it was a nice night in Brisbane, and now it's starting to rain. Patterson. Batiste. Spina. Milrose, a bullet-like pass out to McLean, and that was a good piece of defence. Joey Tepp, the number 11, hit him with everything bar his back teeth. And McLean went down, losing the ball in the process. See it again on the Foster's replay. It was Tivolet and Tepp. Terry Tepp, the 11, and Tivolet in the 5. They certainly didn't miss him. And another scrum win to the Pale Blues. That's the lock, Taumaku. Aribo is his Christian name. This is Arnold Tivolet. Segi Yarrow gets a kick in, and it's fielded by Bennett.
Port Moresby are doing a lot of kicking, and that's good in four-quarter football, but the kicks are very misdirected. All they're doing really is handing Eastern Suburbs possession 20 metres downfield.
Leggett running into a good tackle. Whoops. Through to Spina. Away from Gilmeister, back to Hardy. Hardy's 10 metres out. Spina's gone without it. Dived on there by Numapo. Out the back from Waketsi. Ball played by the hooker, Henny. And a good strong run then up the middle by Numapo, the centre. Kubak, the second rower, number 10. He likes to drive the ball down the ground with big punt kicks. He's been well offline tonight. And there's his second row partner, Waketsi, putting that kick in. So they've got two kicking second rowers. Madison tackled by Tivolet. And this is Brian Batiste. Wrapped up by Segi Yarrow. Back to the blind side now for Gilmeister. Very close to the half-time break. In fact, only seconds away. This will be the last attacking raid that he shall have time for. Katsianis into an opening. The siren sounds. He keeps it alive. McGann kicks. Came off a Port Moresbyan. Milrose throws the pass. Raked off the ground by Truella. And now it's gone to ground to the end of the first half. And Eastern Suburbs leading very easily. Tony Milrose with a 20-point contribution. It's East 32, Port Moresby 6. Take a break and be back for more National Panasonic Cup in just a moment. Back now for the third quarter of this National Panasonic Cup match, with Eastern Suburbs leading Port Moresby 32-6. And Graham Hughes has a couple of changes to report in the Eastern Suburbs lineup.
Yes, Ray, Terry Madison is on in number 16 in place of Laurie Spina, who had a pretty strong first half. And also David Torella has been forced off. Kevin Hastings is out there in 14.
This is McLean making a strong run, and in fact having a strong game tonight. It'd be hard not to, of course, but he has been very conspicuous by his efforts. Batiste putting it down. And Port Moresby coming up with the ball. Played there by Covey, the centre, and the penalty goes to Port Moresby. East inside the 5, about 25 metres out. And Bal Numapo, the centre, is going to take this kick at goal. It would seem a little bit late in the night to be taking kicks at goal, but it's his decision and his alone. takes his time. He's hit the upright. It's bounced back into the field of play. Recovered there just fractionally in the in-goal area by McGahn. Better attempted tackle that time by Roy Henney. First man low, second man over the top. Yeah, it worked effectively. This is Gilmeister out to the 22 line. McGahn back inside for McLean. Hastings is with him. So is Madison in 16. Back to Hastings. Knocked down by Port Moresby's number 8, Tamaku. And it's 6 more tackles for Eastern Suburbs now, with Glenn Leggett to play the ball. Madison. Melrose. Dummy half Katsianis. Hastings. And now this is Brian Batiste again. Good front-on tackle there by Ivara. Hastings dummies open, comes blind, finds Katsianis. And another good tackle there by the number 5, Tivolett.
Tivolett's one of the players that could make it in Sydney football.
This is Gilmeister. Good pass away to Hastings, then on to Madison. This is the brother of the fullback. And the ball taken on the bounce there by the East number 5, George Katsianis, and another try. See it again on the Foster's Lager replay. It was all made possible by a very good pass, a very good ball by Gilmeister. And then Madison was able to light step his way down the ground. He went into a tunnel. He came out the other side. Gilmeister was still there backing up. And just looking at that head-on shot, I am almost sure that player, Katsianis, hit the touchline with his knee prior to getting the ball down. See it again and see if you can pick it up. You might not see it as well on this replay, but stay with us as we watch replay number 2. Gilmeister's playing very strongly tonight. Now here's Katsianis. No, looking at that replay, everything was A-OK. Just for a moment I thought that maybe he had put his knee on the touchline prior to grounding the ball. And that, of course, would have meant a 5-metre scrum. There's the incident I was talking about. He certainly got it down before the knee came anywhere near the touchline. 6 from 6 from Melrose, and still his teammates are scoring tries right out on the edge of the ground. Can he keep it up? Left the boot all right, but he's pushed this one away, and no goal for Tony Melrose. 36-6. With Aribo Tamaka bringing it back now to the halfway for the restart. Halfback will kick off. Place the ball in what looks to be the back to front fashion. That's good. They're certainly out to try and baffle people the best way they can. The captain brought the ball back, gave it to the half who placed it, and then the centre, Diary Covey, kicked off. So I won't fall into that again. Matterson. It might be a ritual or something. That's just the way it has to be. The captain will carry the ball back, and the half will place it, and the centre will kick it. Kevin Hastings in 14. Melrose. Hastings holding back that ball for Gilmeister. 5 gone. Speared back for Melrose. He puts in a kick that looks too deep. It is, and he was over the dead ball line before he took it, so it'll come back out to the 22. In fact, it wouldn't have mattered whether he had not have been outside the in goal. Had he have stood his ground, he would have walked out to the 22. Tamaku. The NEC big game on Sunday, of course, is over at what they used to call Concrete Park, but they can't call it that anymore. It's quite a magnificent ground now, North Sydney Oval, and we'll be telecasting that match between Norths and Souths. The hooker Henny is tackled on his own 22. This is Moida, the fullback, flicking it away for Ivara to get it out the back for Cove. And there goes the centre. Namapo, very fast. Here comes their second try. The boys from the Port, I reckon they can't run. They mightn't be able to tackle very well, but I'll tell you what they can run as Mafu Kerry picks up their second try. Here it is again. This is the way it happened. It was a good ball out the back from the fullback Moida. Was picked up and kept alive by Ivara. And then it was Cove, the centre, onto Numapo, his other centre. And then inside went the number 15, Mafu Kerry. And he was committing curry. He was flying over the 22 line. He absolutely cantered the last 22.
This try mightn't mean a lot to us or the people at home, but believe me, it means a lot to the Port Moresby players, and it has absolutely brought the house down here at Lang Park. It was a good ball, popped up. Namapo got it back inside. Kerry was backing up, and he's done a great job here to finish it off.
So Numapo now gets another chance to show us his wares as a goal kicker. 36 points to 10. And he should get this. He does. No, he does not. I take it back. Scoreline, no change. 36 points to 10. Eastern Suburbs leading Port Moresby. Here's the ball inside by Numapo. And then away goes this man, Kerry. And there's a little bit of a smile sneaking through there on those cheeks. There's the kickoff. Fielded by Tamaka. 15 metres back into the field of play. They run just a trifle faster than you used to, Graham.
Ray, they move very, very well. They're great on their feet, and you mentioned about bringing a smile to their face. They love their rugby league, even though the scoreline was reading so heavily against them, 36-6. When that last try was scored there, they celebrated. You would have thought that that put them in front.
Wide ball now, and a penalty goes to Port Moresby against East inside the 5. Joey Tepp, the number 11, was in possession. This is Quebec taking the line kick, and he's leapt. Well, he's ruled that it's going to be the tap to restart. Tivelet. Long torpedo pass, but it's going back and across the ground. This is one of their faults. Instead of going ahead with a couple of forward plays, they seem as though they want to spread it wide on the first and second tackles, and this is why they're not going ahead. Little kick ahead by the half-back, and it's covered up by Madison. Katsianis. Batiste. Swallowed up in that tackle by Seguiaro. This is Gilmeister. He's probably been among the better players for Eastern Suburbs, the second rower. Paul Madison. I was telling you earlier, he came from Canterbury Juniors, went to Balmain Juniors with Wright Eastwood, and they didn't have an A-grade competition, so he played in Parramatta Juniors as Melrose fails with that attempt to drop goal. Eastern Suburbs a change. Great.
Yes, Ray. Craig Salvatore in 17 is waiting on the sideline to replace Brian Batiste, who had a minor shoulder complaint at half-time. We spoke to Kevin Hastings earlier, Ray. We mentioned there were varying reports about the selection of the Eastern Suburbs side to meet Canberra on the weekend. I noticed in that first half, Eastern Suburbs attack really did rely upon Laurie Spooner. Now, Laurie Spooner is renowned as a running halfback and not an organiser. And I don't really know if an Eastern Suburbs side can go around without Kevin Hastings, because since he's gone on in the field, if you've noticed the dominating role that he's played around the rucks.
And whilst Graham was talking there, Arnold Tivolet, a player on this left wing, Bill made the comment earlier, he could probably make it in Sydney with the proper coaching and conditioning. He's made a brilliant run around a couple of Eastern Suburbs would-be tacklers.
He did it from a standing start. He probably shouldn't have got the ball in the situation he was in, got it standing still, then stood two Eastern Suburbs players up and almost was able to bust the line.
Brian Batiste going off, and coming on is Craig Salvatore. So when you add Craig Salvatore and George Katsianis to a list of Port Morsebyans, I can assure you I'll never forget this match.
Tell you what, there's someone in the side can scrummage. They've come up with yet another scrum there against the feet and the head.
Keep your eye on their arms. Molly Jackie. Moida. To the halfway line. Dummy half is Namapo. There's the scrum count. Something's going wrong for Easts and going very right for Port Moresby. 7-2. Joey Tepper's dummy half. Away now to the number 10, which is Quebec. Little kick over the top. Ivara goes through, but Easts have got the ball through Bennett. This is Paul Mattison. Dummy half Hastings. That's Terry Mattison. Around the back there for Craig Salvatore. Hastings, switch of play. Back to Mattison and across to Melrose. Cuts out McLean, picks up Bennett. Bennett flings it back inside, but he was into touch. There's a replay from Foster's of Bennett being ruled into touch while still in possession of the ball. A little puff of dust went up, a little puff of lime, I would think it is. Numapo. Tivolet's gone to dummy half. He may well have a run himself here. He does. Makes a gain of about 5 metres. But that's better than just passing the ball willy-nilly across the ground and nobody wanting to go ahead, although Seguiaro tried to. Covey's pass goes way out in front of Kerry. So another scrum to go down about 32 metres out from the Port Moresbyans line. In fact, I said to their coach, what are they? Do you call them Port Moresbyans or what? He said, I'm not sure. He said, call them Moresbyites if you like, sir. I said, thank you. Here's Katsianis drawing the player, and this is Glenn Leggett now doing the same. McGann will score. McGann in for a try. Eastern Suburbs leading by 40 points to 10. New Zealand international Hugh McGann. It seems a shame that he be wearing the number 4 jumper these days, but he has to. It was Katsianis who was holding it. He then decided, I won't draw and pass. I'll draw and then I'll try and beat him. He had to change his mind halfway through it. Leggett to McGann, and McGann goes in for a very simple try.
It was a simple try. Katsianis was going to score it on his own. He threw the dummy, hoping that the fullback would fall for it, but the fullback came in to make the ball, and it was the winger came in and made the ball an all tackle. The ball shifted onto Bennett, and then Hugh McGann, and really we might have forgotten about him tonight because he hasn't been in much of the action, but he backed up here to score his first try.
Melrose placing the ball for, he's limping there, McGann too, which is I would think, a problem for Arthur Beetson. He can't afford to lose any more players. Not of the standard of McGahn, anyway. 6 from 7 for Melrose, and again, familiar territory. You can see all the mounds where he's been taking the other kicks from. This one he's got. Yes, hit the upright and bounced in. So Melrose kicks his 7th goal from 8 attempts, and he lead by 42 points to 10. Eastern Suburbs with only one replacement left on the bench now. Todd Riley. In fact, we watched him play some mighty fine football last year, Todd Riley. Here's Gilmeister. Now Hastings and Steve Hardy. Tap over the top with Ivara. Melrose, Katsianis to the halfway. I was talking to Arthur Beetson before the match, and here's Madison into an opening, back inside for Craig Salvatore, and he's tackled inside the 22. Struck through by Port Moresby, so East gets 6 more, and now they spread it very quickly to the right. It looks like a try coming for McLean. He hangs on, the ball goes out the back, and the referee is ruling that a knock-on occurred, so a scrum is to go down.
He should have scored there. It was simply a case of too many players in too small a space.
And here it is again. The way the referee saw it, projected forward towards the opponent's goal line. Yes, I said to Beetson, in a sentence, can you say to me what's gone wrong? He said, he paused, and he said it will be said at the end of the year if we don't pull our socks up and get our game together that we buried ourselves. We buried ourselves. In a word, he said, frustrating. A worried coach is Big Arthur, to say the very least. He's smiling at the moment, but then again, I suppose he's entitled to be smiling. He's heading for a quarter-final match against Wests in this $500,000 National Panasonic Cup. About 130,000 waiting for the Cup final winner in the early part of June. 4th of June, in fact, Cup final night. Keep that one free. And the way the quarters are shaping up, this is going to be one hell of a cup final. There'll be 2 very good semi-finals, that's for sure. And it would seem that the final will be played between 2 heavyweights. I have my doubts that there'll be any Cinderella stories in 1986. Waketsi to Tivolet. And there's the end of the 3rd quarter, with Eastern Suburbs leading by 42 points to 10. Eastern Suburbs 42, Port Moresby 10, the final 20 minutes, and Graham, you've got a change to report.
Right, for Eastern Suburbs, Todd Riley has finally gone on for this last quarter. Off comes McLean with Hugh McGahn moving into the forwards, and also the final change for Port Moresby. Issa Meyer's gone on in place of number 3, Koive.
Issa Mai is playing in jumper number 14 for Port Moresby. They've still got one left, haven't they, Graham?
Yes, I'm sorry they have, Ray. I thought that was my last difficult tongue twister for the evening.
So Eastern Suburbs off the boot of Tony Melrose, sending it very deep down to Moida, the fullback. And he's gone perilously close to that touchline. He did well to stay in field. 17 is Ivara. He's done some handy things since he came on. Ivara. Jibo. Kick down for Paul Madison. taken chase by the halfback. It was he, Jesso Jibo, who kicked, and he led the procession down the ground to make the tackle, and a good one. It was Bennett going to ground on the halfway mark. Joey Tepp, the tackler. Glenn Leggett. Tibblet around the legs. Now spread to Gilmeister. Back to Hastings. Madison, long ball for Melrose. Melrose sees an opening, tries to go through, but well tackled. Pulled down by the number 9, Bernard Waketsi. This is the last tackle for Easts, with Patterson getting it around the back for Bennett. Bennett back inside for Patterson, and Patterson scores. Wide up again. But it was a neat piece of work out there, and I'm just wondering whether Patterson actually scored the try or whether it was Mattison who came on the scene. No, that's Patterson. Yes, Patterson, the try scorer. I was watching young Mattison shaking hands there with Patterson. I thought, heavens above, don't tell me he scored the try. But there it is on a close-up Foster's Lager replay. It was very much Patterson and Bennett, and Patterson picks up the try.
Almost all the Eastern Suburbs tries are being scored out wide in the corner. The reason for that is a simple one. The Port Moresby defence purely is running out of numbers out on the flanks. Here's another example of it. Patterson backing up like a good lock forward, took the inside ball and came up with the points.
Trevor Patterson, part of the Queensland connection in this Eastern Suburbs side. We're only commenting the original side that ran on included Patterson, Queensland, McLean, Queensland, Gilmeister, Queensland. Hardy was the only Sydney player. Truella's from Newcastle, but has done time in Queensland. Batiste, of course, came down from Queensland. So the big man from Roma has certainly brought plenty of the Banana Landers with him. And here's the Melrose kick. He's looking for 8. It's a big kick, but just fading away at the last little moment. 46-10 is the score. 7 out of 9 for Tony Melrose. Well, let's watch this procedure, whether they go through. Yes, they went through it exactly the way I told you. Tamaka, the lock, brings it back, gives it to the half to place it. Jibo, now will he kick it this time, or will the centre kick it? No, the half's going to do the job this time. All right then. So tackled is Todd Riley. Cassianis. Salvatore. Good ball. Cassianis and Hardy. Through Salvatore. On through Madison to Melrose. Back to Hastings. He stands, keeps it alive. Back it goes for number 16, which is Terry Madison again. Getting it back for Tony Melrose. Flick passes into the middle for Hardy. And Hardy is tackled 10 metres out from the line. Last replacement has been made for Port Moresby. Tell you about it in a moment. This is Cassianis beating a man with a hip and then getting across the line. And that's an unforgivable mistake, really, for Port Moresby to make, even allowing for their inability at times to tackle. But this was simply a case of pushing a man across the sideline. One of them went for a shoulder charge and paid a very dear penalty, and the other fellow rode the try scorer Catsianis across the line.
Catsianis uses his physical advantage here to great effect. You can see him drop the shoulder. He's a very big winger. He didn't have a lot of room to work in, but he stretched out and crossed for the try.
So 50 points to 10. The half century is there. The 10 is off for Port Moresby. Robert Kuback. 16 has gone on Ken Kematafi. I've got to be honest with you, I did my best with the first 13. I thought I'll let the reserves take care of themselves. Here's Melrose from the touch again. Left the boot all right, but getting away. 7 out of 10 for Melrose, and 50 points to 10 in favour of the Tricolours. Brian Batiste played strongly whilst on the ground. He's now left the field and he's with Graham McNeese sidelines.
Brian, interesting side, Port Moresby. What would they like to play against?
They're a very difficult side to play against, actually. They're quite good defenders, and they're very keen to cover defence. So where there looks like there's gaps out wide, you end up running into a sideline. They hit pretty hard in close, and I guess the sort of football we all knew they were going to play, they throw the ball around a lot and enjoy themselves in attack.
Yeah, they look pretty good with the ball, and they certainly did show a bit of pace.
Yeah, well, you know, they're very hard to contain. You've got to be on your game all the time. You know, they can all step, and as I said, they all just back up and tend to throw it anywhere if in a desperate situation. Often there's people there.
Great experience for them, but problems for Eastern Suburbs back in Sydney.
Yeah. Well, tonight's the start of a sequence of wins. We hope, you know, we'll go to have Canberra on the weekend. We hope we can put another win together. We've just been falling down on some of the basics. I think we've been doing all the big things right, and just our handling and things like that's been letting us down.
All right, thanks, Brian.
Thanks a lot.
I think I called you Graham McNeese, Graham Hughes.
Yes, well, there's a bit of an age difference here, Ray, if you allow me that one.
I'm terribly,
You're older.
I'm terribly sorry. Here's Seguiaro kicking ahead, taken in by Bennett. Away to Leggett. Pursued and rounded up by the number 15, Kerry. I think it's got to me, Graham. Todd Riley to play it, right in the centre of the ground. Salvatore, a short ball away. Queenslander came from Norths in Brisbane competition to East. Madison linking up with his backs. He's been called up from under 23s. Madison, he's been down with Russell Fairfax's team. Salvatore, 14, Isamai, and here they go again. Boys from Port Moresby are on the rampage. That was forward, but you let it go. Why wouldn't you let it go? Numapo! Bell Numapo scores the try. And Barry Gomersall, I take my hat off to you. I got a funny feeling this ball might have been forward the second last, in fact the last pass, but you turned a blind eye to it, and good on you, Barry Gomersall. Well, here they are, the boys from the Port. Away they go again. It was the number 9, Waketsi. That was the ball that was forward. But who cares? Numapo, centre three-quarter, scores their 3rd try.
You can tell these fellows love their football from this movement. They shot the ball very quickly out to the left from inside their own quarter, and here's the result of it. Who does care if the pass was forward at this stage?
Anyway, Numapo's been sacked as the goal kicker. He's been replaced by Roy Henney, the hooker, and he gets the goal, and again the crowd goes up. 50 points to 16 in favour of the Roosters. Back for the restart for Tony Melrose. .66 points scored in the match. Melrose has had plenty of practice at goal kicking. Port Moresby's had plenty of practice at kicking off, but not on this occasion. It's Kematafi. Tackle just inside the 22 line. Ball played by Taumaku. This is Gibo. A bit of a juggle there as Waketsi is tackled down on his own 22. Good strong hit up there by Avari. It's the fellow I told you when he came on, Tati Avara. In fact, every time he's taken the ball, he's gone ahead. He's gone up very hard. Kematafi tackled now. Tamaku, the lock and captain. Tackled by Gilmeister. Ball taken on the bounce by Todd Riley. Tackled by Tiverlet. Picked up by Hastings. 15 metres out from the line.
I don't think I've ever heard Barry Gummersall booed before at Lang Park.
So it's over now with McGahn back to Hardy, and Hardy goes in to score the try. 54 points. 54 points to 16 in favour of Eastern Suburbs. As Eastern Suburbs pile on the pressure, McGahn was prominent. Hardy came bursting onto it and gets it down almost adjacent to the uprights to give Tony Melrose one of his easiest kicks of the night.
After going virtually the length of the field when they had the ball, Port Moresby's fitness wouldn't allow them to recover in time, and Stephen Hardy, realising that, steamed ahead to come up with a try.
Seven from 10 for Tony Melrose. And this one he's got. So 56 points to 16 is the score. Eastern Suburbs leading Port Moresby. And about 5 minutes of the match remaining. Beautifully taken by Gilmeister. Steve Hardy making another burst down the side. It went over the head of Katsianis, and the referee will bring it back. The ball went forward. And a scrum is to go down about 7 or 8 metres on Port Moresby side of the halfway. It's Tamaku. '17 is Avara. Swept across the ground for Kematafi, and eventually tackled by East is Seguiaro. Jibo. Picked up by Paul Madison. And he's going to be tidied up there by Kerry. Here's Bennett. Well, good football. Good football. Melrose right down the paddock. Right across the ground to Todd Riley. Here's Katsianis inside for Leggett. Further infield now for Salvatore. And he's tackled 10 metres away from the Port Moresby line, and there's only about 4 of them back there in a defensive position. And now a penalty goes to East against Isamai. Tony Melrose torpedoes the ball along the line. As we have a look at the replay of this Eastern Suburbs movement breaking down. So during that replay of that long run down the ground, and then that penalty that Port Moresby gave by lying on the East player, the penalty was taken very quickly. The ball spun right across the ground so very, very quickly, and Scott Bennett has picked up another try. Here's Melrose now. That's his 3rd of the match, Bennett. It's 8 out of 11 so far for Melrose, and here he is from near the touchline and missing that one, and the scoreline 60 points to 16. 60 points to 16 in favour of the Roosters over Port Moresby. Restart, I would think, for the last time, with only half a minute to go, and Glenn Leggett taking it.